Sean Grayson is dead, the former sheriff's deputy who killed Sonya Massey inside her own kitchen after she called 911 for help has died behind bars. Now her family is responding to the death of the man they spent 2 years fighting to hold accountable. Stay with me to hear what Sonya's family had to say and why their words reach back to that tragic night. Sean Grayson didn't die of old age, and he didn't die free. The former Illinois sheriff's deputy, who was sentenced to 2 decades in prison for killing Sonya Massey inside her home, died. His attorney said, with defense attorney Daniel Foltz confirming Grayson died on Sunday. He was 32 and had been battling stage 4 colon cancer, for which he was undergoing treatment. Just weeks before his death, Grayson had tried to walk out of prison early. Grayson was battling stage 4 rectal cancer that had spread to his liver and lungs, and had in May requested an early medical release. But a 3-person state panel that handles all inmate release and clemency decisions unanimously denied Grayson's request 3 weeks before his death. The board didn't mince words about it. I am writing to confirm that the board voted 3-0 to deny Sean Grayson's medical release application, an Illinois Prisoner Review Board spokesperson said. He will remain in custody. He didn't remain in custody long. Grayson had been diagnosed years earlier. According to his defense attorney Mark Wyckoff, Grayson was first diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2023. But by the time he was sentenced, the disease had already spread. Grayson had been diagnosed with colon cancer before Massey's killing, and his attorneys said at his sentencing that the disease had spread to his liver and lungs. In the end, cancer got to him before the system did. Sean Grayson, who was 32, died after serving less than a year of his 20-year prison sentence, defense attorney Dan Foltz said. The family didn't wait long to respond. Through their attorneys, Sonya Massey's relatives put out a statement that didn't hold back and didn't pretend to grieve for him. Civil rights attorneys Ben Crump and Antonio Romanucci, representing the family, said plainly that Sonya Massey's death was unjustifiable and she should be alive today, and that Sean Grayson's death in custody from cancer does not bring Sonya back. They added a line about Grace that still carried an edge, wishing his family prayers of peace, as they do for all who grieve a loved one, while noting that Sonya's family knows that pain all too well and will grieve her loss the rest of their days. That's the family's headline reaction. But to understand why those words landed the way they did, you have to go back to the morning none of this had to happen, the morning Sonya Massey called police to check on a noise outside her house. Grayson and another deputy responded to the call at 12:50 a.m. on July 6, 2024. Massey, 36, a black mother of 2, had called authorities to her Springfield home for help with a possible prowler. She was scared, and it showed on the body camera footage that would later be released to the public. "I'm trying to get help, y'all," Massey says in the video. "What do you need help with?" a deputy asks. "Nothing," Massey says. "Please God, please God, please God." The deputies followed her inside. What happened over the next few minutes became one of the most scrutinized police encounters in the country. The footage shows Massey answering the door and immediately telling the 2 deputies, "Please, don't hurt me." To which Grayson responded, "I don't want to hurt you, you called us." Then Grayson noticed a pot on her stove. While Massey was searching for her ID, Grayson spotted a pot of boiling water on the stove and told her, "We don't need a fire while we're in here." What came next is the moment that has been played in courtrooms, on cable news, and across social media for 2 years. "Away from your hot, steaming water," Grayson said, to which Massey responded, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." Grayson's response was immediate and violent in tone. "You better F not, I swear to God, I'll F shoot you right in your F face," Grayson responded, drawing his gun. Massey immediately backed down. "Okay, I'm sorry," Massey responds before ducking behind the counter. The second deputy also draws his gun, and Grayson yells, "Drop the F-pot," repeatedly before 3 shots are heard. An autopsy report later determined that Massey died from gunshot wounds to her head. The Illinois State Police determined that Grayson was not justified in using deadly force, and Grayson was fired by the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office within days. Minutes after firing, Grayson was recorded talking to the other deputy at the scene, saying flatly, "Dude, I'm not taking F-King boiling water to the F-King head. And look, it came right to our feet, too." The family didn't know any of this at first. James Wilburn, Sonya's father, later described the confusion and pain of those early days. He told reporters the family was initially misled about how his daughter had actually died. He said that the family was never told it had been a police shooting, and they were under the impression that she was killed by the intruder and that police had found her dead. He said they were even misled to think that she had died from self-inflicted wounds. When the footage finally came out, Wilburn called it gutting. It's probably the most horrible, heart-wrenching thing that we've ever seen in our lives, but if it were not for the bodycam footage, we would not have known that this occurred. Investigators soon revealed something that made the case even harder to swallow for the family. Grayson wasn't new to trouble. He was in 6 police departments in 3.5 years, Wilburn said. That is shameful. That detail, an officer bouncing between departments without red flags ever catching up to him, became one of the driving forces behind reform efforts the family would push for in the months that followed. The case moved to trial in the fall, and the courtroom became another battleground. A jury watched body camera video showing the moments Grayson shot Massey in her kitchen, with Grayson sitting hunched in his chair and appearing to plug his ears during the part of the video that included audio of shots being fired. Grayson took the stand in his own defense. Sean Grayson testified at his trial, telling the jury he thought Massey was going to throw a pot of boiling water at him. His partner that night, Deputy Dawson Farley, testified against him. Farley said he was not scared by any of Massey's actions, testifying no when asked if he was worried about her hurting him, and adding, "She never said anything that alarmed me." The jury came back with a verdict that split the difference, and split the family's emotions right down the middle. Grayson was found guilty of second-degree murder, but acquitted of first-degree murder in October 2025. For the family, that was a gut punch layered on top of years of grief. Sonya's father didn't hide his frustration in the moment. "He told my child he would shoot her in the effing face, and he did it. And all we got was a second-degree murder conviction out of this," said Massey's father, James Wilburn. 3 months later, Grayson stood before a judge for sentencing, and this time the family got something closer to what they wanted. Grayson, who had been incarcerated since he was charged, received the maximum possible sentence, 20 years. When the number was read out loud, the courtroom erupted. The family reacted with a loud cheer, "Yes," after the judge read the sentence, and he admonished them for the outburst. Grayson stood and apologized directly to the people he'd spent a trial fighting. He apologized in court, saying he wished he could bring Massey back and spare her family the pain he caused. Sonya's daughter, then 16, spoke to reporters right after and captured exactly how the family felt walking out of that courthouse. 20 years is not enough, but they did what they could do, Massey's daughter Summer told reporters after the hearing. Her father went further, framing the sentence as historic. "We serve an awesome God because never in the history of these United States has a law enforcement officer been given this kind of sentence," said James Wilburn, Massey's father, after court. Sonya's mother, Donna, who had struggled through the trial, told the court in her own statement that she cried every day, lost her short-term memory, and was now afraid to call the police for fear that she may end up like her daughter. Sonya's cousin, Sonya Massey, made clear the family wasn't done. "Now the real work begins. It goes without saying that we want to take this federally," Sonya said. That 20-year sentence turned out to be nowhere near what Grayson would actually serve. The former deputy had been diagnosed with colon cancer prior to the shooting, and his attorney noted that the cancer had advanced to his liver and lungs. And the 3-member Illinois prisoner review board voted to deny Grayson's application for early medical release. The family showed up to fight that request in person. Sonya's parents, James Wilburn and Donna Massey, cousin Sonya Massey, and children Malachi and Summer Massey sat down at the table directly in front of the panelists. And Wilburn didn't soften his words for the board. "I am immensely grateful to the Prisoner Review Board because I think they did the right thing," James Wilburn said. "I think Sean Grayson should be allowed out of prison when my daughter can walk out of that cemetery." That was 3 weeks before Grayson died. The family had already lived through a year marked by anniversaries and grief they described as still raw. On the 1-year mark of the shooting, Sonya's daughter told a reporter the loss still hadn't fully sunk in. "It still doesn't feel real to me," Sonya's daughter, Jeanette Summer Massey said. "I wake up some days with it on my mind, like dang my mom's really dead, and then I just go on about my day. I just try not to think about it too much." Her grandfather, James Wilburn, said the pain hadn't faded the way people expected it to. "You would think that the hurt of this situation would have alleviated some," Wilburn said. Sonya's mother, Donna, described a private way of coping that had nothing to do with courtrooms or press conferences. "To me, she is still very much alive," Donna said. "I'm always getting ready to call her, and then I remember that she's gone, so she's still here to me." And Sonya's son, Malachi, the family said, still struggled most with the small, ordinary things he missed, like her cooking. Beyond the personal grief, Sonya Massey's case had already forced change well beyond one Springfield courtroom. Massey's killing drew national attention and protests, and raised questions about how Grayson had moved through several law enforcement agencies before being hired. And Illinois lawmakers later passed the Sonya Massey Act, requiring law enforcement agencies to more closely review an applicant's previous employment records before hiring an officer. The Justice Department also opened a civil rights investigation after Massey's death and later reached an agreement with Sangamon County, its sheriff's office, and other agencies, requiring changes to policing and emergency response. State Senator Doris Turner, who championed that reform and has known the family for years, said the law is part of what keeps the family moving forward. It's also really comforting to the family that we are continuing to do what we can in our community so that this doesn't happen to anyone else, Turner said. So when word came down that Grayson had died, it landed on a family that had already spent 2 years turning their grief into policy, into a courtroom win, into a law bearing their daughter's name. His death didn't close anything for them. It just added another chapter to a story they never asked to be part of. The statement from Crump and Romanucci said it as plainly as it could be said. His death doesn't undo what happened to her, and the family will carry that loss for the rest of their lives. What's left now is a 20-year sentence that ended after less than a year, a law that still bears Sonya Massey's name, and a family that buried her once and is now, in a different way, closing another chapter on the man who took her from them.